Happy Wine Wednesday.
Happy Wine Wednesday. It's 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock. It's fun o'clock here in West Kelowna. We are thrilled. What a great week it's been so far. Welcome to the month of March, the month where everything's going to start blooming, the month where we're going to start to feel summer is on. It's right here at the doorstep. So yeah, Carl's Wine Club members, Canadian wine lovers, happy Wine Wednesday. Mira, how are ya?
Great.
How's it going?
Great. I get what you're saying about spring. Holy cow. Everything is melted out where we are in West Kelowna, except our lake out front here. The lake is still frozen solid. And I think we're going to get one more little dip, a little dip of temperature for a couple weeks, and then it'll be solid spring. By the 21st of March, it better be spring. Unless you're in Calgary or Winterpeg, in which case, sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. No, I can feel it. I can smell it. It is the best part of having moved to the wine country. You can feel the build up. And yeah, we're almost done with winter. So today we are talking about value wines. Today we're going to talk about wines you absolutely blew our socks off in terms of value. One of the hardest things to do in our business, in what I consider my job, because it's a job, right? Yeah, right. So the hardest thing to do is to find great wines. Outstanding wines how can I say that? Give you more than what you pay for. Okay, let's put it that way. First and foremost, a value wine can be an outstanding $50 wine. That can be that, because if you have a $50 wine who tastes like a $100 wine, it's a value wine to me. If it's a $30 wine who drinks like a $70 wine, but it's a heck of a value wine. We had that case also with the Rubius from Maverick, where that darn Rubius at $25 drink like a $40 wine. But yeah, this is a heck of a value wine. But now we're talking about the lower bracket of price, the one like we can barely find something solid outside of that manufacturer, industrial kind of frozen grape juice that we call Apothic Red or Wine O'Clock, or these very, very entry level industrial manufactured grape juice with the 13% alcohol. To find hey, go ahead.
So I like to think of it as like, with cheese, there's processed cheese.
Don't make fun of the processed cheese, though.
I know you like the processed cheese. It's all good. But, so they each have their place, right? And there's certain people that will refuse to eat the processed cheese, like myself, unless it's a dire circumstance or it's
just to let our people know that Madame here who refused to eat processed cheese, you had some for lunch today, just so you know.
I did, yeah. It was all we had. It was all.
So that was a dire situation, I guess.
Hey,
pasta in a bag and processed cheese.
But it's kind of like the processed cheese level, and then there's like the Saputo cheese, that you get at the grocery store. It's all right, right?
That's all right. It's all right.
And then there's various levels of like the artisan cheese, right? So
that's it. But sometime when you get an artisan cheese at the same price that a processed cheese. That's when you're like, what? How the heck that happened? Because this is like going to the farm and eating like the farmer's freaking cheese at the
Yeah.
price here. So that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about a $16 wines, or in terms of the premium here on our list, a $19 wine, would taste like literally $25 to $30 wine. So that doesn't happen quite often for us to come across these brands. It's easy. I can go to any liquor store tomorrow. They can be liquor stores from Newfoundland, liquor stores in Labrador, liquor stores in Saskatchewan, everywhere around the darn country. I can find a $15 bottle of wine. There's a wine o'clock somewhere. There is a apothec somewhere. I can find one. That's for sure. But I don't know if I can find in every liquor store around the country something decent to taste for $16 wine, for $16. I am not sure if I can do that. So tonight I require the participation of our listener, all of our members, all of the VIPs who are tuning in tonight. I want to know, what's the best wine under $20 that you have tasted in the last year? Okay?
Tough one.
I want to know.
Under 20 with tax is what we're talking about here.
You know, now we're talking, yeah, but it's still, yeah. It's weird because at the end of the day, there's a big difference with that, right? Is it tax in, tax out? We're talking about Ontario, the biggest producer of wine in our country. Every single price point when we're dealing with every wineries, the tax are in. When we move to BC, we're dealing with producers in BC. 80% of them, the tax are not included in the price. 20%. But when we're talking about like a $20 wine, tax in, or like, there's a big difference at every level if the tax are in or out. So yeah, it's interesting. So let's talk about.
It's a bigger difference if it's under $20, because $1 or $2 is like 10 or 20% kind of thing sometimes, right?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So we're going to mention it a couple more times during the show. I want to know, what is the best wine that you've tasted under $20 in the last 12 months? Okay. Mira, what do we have for our listener? Let's do a draw here. Let's do an Enovino.
We're doing an Enovino. See down below.
Okay. Let's do an Enovino. Let's do an Enovino. Hey, Ken McAllister is here from Calgary. So yes. Okay. What is the best wine you've tasted in the last under $20? Because today we're talking value wine. And guess what? We're not the type of people who taste regularly wines under $20, to be honest, Mira. Like, we are, most of what we taste, it's probably between 25 and 40. That's the bracket. That what we're tasting our wine, most of their wine, and 99.99999% of the wine that we taste are Canadian. So, yeah, if you guys did not taste any Canadian wines under $20 in the last 12 months, give me a international reference, something international, but Canadian as much as possible.
I think this is international. Sabrina's saying Mythic Cab Franc. I think that's not Canadian, is it? I've never heard of that.
I don't know. Maybe Sabrina's is on and she's let us know from where Mythic is. I don't know the Mythic brand, so it will be interesting.
My guess is not Canadian because we've never heard of it, but we're always surprised by new good things. Elaine's thinking it was a BC wine. Still thinking about that one. And yeah.
And let me assess. Go ahead, Mira. Finish with.
Oh, John Lewis saying Burnship Bay Reserve Red and also Frescobaldi Ramole.
Well, okay. Let's talk about Frescobaldi, one of the top Italian producer. The Ramole is their entry-level brand, but now putting this Burnship Bay Reserve Red, 1995, including tax, okay, is named right beside Frescobaldi. I hope that Marcel Morgenstern is listening to that, because his brand, his baby, his wine has been put, his name just put right beside Frescobaldi wine. This is a great honor because Frescobaldi, one of the best producer in the world. Okay, by the way. So this little gem here from Niagara-on-the-Lake, okay, just been put, this name, Burnt Ship Bay, just got put right beside Frescobaldi.
All right,
Carol,
your mission now is to go to the store, find me a bottle of Frescobaldi, and we'll do an update later of how it tastes side by side with the reserve, because we have the reserve open tonight. Cheers, guys!
Yeah, we do have the reserve open tonight. So cheers! This is Burnt Ship Bay Reserve, 2019 vintage. It's a blend of Cab Sauv, Cap Franc Merlot Cab Sauv. You know what? I tasted that wine last year in late September. I was a little stiff. It was a little bright. It was a little shy. Now, 6 months later, this wine has softened up a lot. It was great. It was great in September last year. It's even better right now. Right now, it's in a great spot. Softer, rounder, the tannin has softened up. I added an extra half point, retasting it in the last couple of days. This wine is in a very good space right now. So, John Lewis, I completely agree with what you're saying. This wine for under $20 tax in, it's hard to beat. It was in my short list last year to be on my value wine of the year as well. It's one of the reasons why we're right back at it this week, less than 6 months after featuring Burnt Ship Bay. I wanted to go back at it because I believe for a selection of 4 wines, often wineries will have one selection under $20. And this is kind of their card to the world saying we can produce something value, and they take a big hit in terms of margin, spreading the margin out to the rest of their portfolio. Here at Burnt Ship Bay, they make 4 wines. None of them are over $20. Their 4 wines are under $20.
And I think it needs a little deeper dive, Carl. So first of all, I want to say Ken has recommended Larch Hills, great price, cool German whites like Ortega. And I just checked their website and they do have some great priced, all under 20 bucks. They're in Salmon Arm. So we got to go visit at some point. Super cool. Okay. But I think it needs a deeper dive, Carl. Why is that $20 mark? It's not just because, okay, when wineries send us wine and we taste, hundreds and hundreds of wines from Canadian wineries. When they send us the wine, they send us their nicer stuff, right? Because they want us to be happy, which Absolutely. Is why we never go public about a wine that you, Carl, wouldn't rate over 89 points because we don't.
88.
So many 88. That we don't want to talk
88,
about.
Mira.
88.
Sorry, 88. 88 is the threshold.
Yeah. So that's kind of our own bias. But in general, why is it hard? Why is that $20 mark such a hard thing to sort of beat, if you're trying to make wine under 20 bucks?
Well, I think there's the psychological barrier, right? Like $20 now, these day and age, 2022 now, like you don't get anything under $20 first and foremost. Second, no, like really, like honestly, right? Like you go to the store, you don't expect a whole lot for $20. In terms of wine, your expectation. There you go. Oof. Your expectation when you go below $20 is very little. You don't have a high expectation. So, and also I would say what's contribute to that, it's all pretty much of these manufactured wines that these apothic wine of the world, like the Wine O'Clock, the Apothic, the Copper Moon, they are all under $20. For many people out there, for the Canadian wine lovers, what's under $20, it's been put in that manufactured industrial type of wine. And also, it's in terms of margin. The margin of production, at the end of the day, a producer need to make money, right? We're all in business here to make money. Producing these wines is pretty much the same cost than producing a $25 wine. So how do you make your business model work to produce a quality wine? Who spend time in oak? You spend time selecting the proper grapes, where like these all take times, had labor cost, and had money. So at the end of the day, it's hard to produce something under $20. It's pretty much impossible.
Yeah, and those are the things that go into it, right, Carl? Like it's things like the labor costs. So whether you pick by hand or you use a machine, does it impact the quality of the wine like dramatically? Well, it depends what you end up doing afterwards, because I love what Carolyn at Westcott says.
Karen Hurst
at Westcott says wine is 1,000 decisions in every bottle, because every little decision, you know, it's a decision whether we go the cheapest possible way or we do something that might cost more in time and money, but it's going to lead to a bigger result. Any one of those 1,000 decisions might not matter completely on their own, but if you add them all up, that's where you end up with a $60 wine versus a $20 wine, right?
No, absolutely. And the margin for error is the exact same for a $30 wine than a $16 wine. Mm-hmm. So the quality, really, the line between a quality wine and something faulty or something who is off balance, it's the same at every level of the price bracket, correct? So
it's riskier to
absolutely
go with the more expensive decisions, because you still have the same kind of risk. But if it works out, it's good.
No, you're totally right. And now let's talk about the harvesting. Let's harvest machine. It's not a crime to harvest, to have a machine to harvest. No. What's wrong? It's when the machine bring the fruits back to the vineyard and no one is sorting on the sorting line. There's nobody on the sorting line. So everything that the machine brings goes into the press. That's wrong. Using the machine to save money on the labor, or because you have a flat land, your vineyard is planted especially for the machine to go, and the whole 9 yards. This is not a crime to use the machine. The machine is there for that. What's wrong if when you bring the fruit back to the winery and no one sorts it? Now a rat tail, a branch, and like everything goes into the press, everything gets pressed together, and everything goes. So that is wrong. Now, when you have people like Burnship Bay who use the machine for some of their vineyards, bring all the clean fruit, and also the vineyard management has a huge impact in there. Instead of managing your vines for a 6 ton per acre, or you drop fruit all summer long and you manage it for 4 tons an acre, now you're getting better grapes when you harvest at the right time. All of these decisions, like Carolyn mentioned at Westcott, there's 1,000 decisions in every single bottle of wines. But yeah, it is all of these decisions. So let's get back to Burnship Bay. These guys, everything starts in the vineyard. The vineyard management, the grapes who are going into Burnship Bay Cab Merlot grows in the exact same vineyard that what Bellaterra, Cabernet Franc, or Cab Sauv, the Bellaterra vineyard grows their $50, their $40 wine. These grapes are coming from the same vines. The top clustered goes into the Bellaterra, making 250, 300 cases. The rest goes into that using the same barrel, just less time in barrel. So the turnaround is quicker. Now we are in, and what is also fantastic with this today, it's we're featuring the 2020 vintage. The historic vintage from Niagara. So that 2020 Burnship Bay Cab Merlot is juicy as hell. It's ground. It's fruity. It's easy drinking. Has a nice medium to full body because of the vintage that is coming from. Yes, they're using the machine to harvest it, but the thousands decision behind it to bring the right fruit in here, it's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, it's
Well, I
rare.
think what's important to mention is like, yes, it's hard to do a wine under 20 bucks, especially when you have the land cost in Canada, the labor cost in Canada, all this kind of stuff. And I think that where Burnship Bay gets a huge advantage is that they are using the facilities and the team and a lot of the vineyard sites as Bellaterra. So it's a little bit like the situation between, you know, Old Navy, The Gap, and Banana Republic. You know, there's a certain standard of quality there, even if you go to Old Navy, because they share a lot of the same infrastructure. And it's the same with this. I don't know if you could get the same kind of quality at that price point if you were just on your own and trying to do this independently. I think that there's a huge advantage we're getting as consumers because Burnship Bay is kind of part of the Bellaterra family.
That's definitely, if you go to a small independent, not independent because it's not like Bellaterra, it's not Paler Estate, they don't have multiple.
Oh no, they're family owned as well.
Yeah. But if you are a small producer where you own, let's say, like there's many like that in BC of 4 acres of land, and that's it, and that's what you have. Well, now making a $16 wines become pretty much impossible. It is impossible with the price of land, the price of the grape, the price of labor, the price of the equipment. You can't do that. Like you just mentioned, Mira, it's the key point here with Burnship Bay. Then they don't have a facility to pay for. They don't have a winery. They don't have the winemaker to pay. They don't have the staff. Everything.
Well, they do, but not at the full rate that they would, you know, at that caliber, right?
That's it, because they have everything from Bellaterra. So Fred DiProprio, who is the world-class winemaker who makes some of the best wine for Bellaterra, makes the wine at Burnship Bay. So they're using the whole thing. So and that's funny how the both are feeding each other. When Lou bought the Chorus, Lou and Marcel bought the Chorus vineyard, where it's the core of the Sauvignon Blanc program at Bellaterra and Burnship Bay. But first and foremost, it was with Burnship Bay in mind when they bought the Chorus vineyard. Now they're making one of their best wine in their portfolio. Their Sauvignon Blanc Wild Ferment comes from the Chorus vineyard. So they're feeding off each other. And the grape that they're not using for that 150 cases of Wild Ferment Bellaterra goes to the Burnship Bay Sauvignon Blanc. It's a single vineyard wine, for God's sake.
That's crazy for $15.95 with tax.
$15.95 tax in. Because it's a single vineyard wine.
So that's the other thing you get, right, Carl? When you go under $20, very often it's hard to know where the wine comes from. If you can't tell where the wine comes from, you know, region, vineyard, and that sort of thing, it kind of defeats like half the pleasure I get out of wine, which is understanding the terroir, understanding the difference between a wine from that region and a wine from another region, right?
Absolutely.
And it becomes a little bit like, okay, well, I could just as well be drinking something else, beer, I don't know. Right? So that's kind of the charm of wine for me, is that it really gives you that connection with the place it comes from. And if suddenly you have a hodgepodge of a bunch of grapes and they can't even tell you where they came from, kind of defeats that purpose. So the beauty in these wines is you're getting that lower price point, but they're also what you called before, Carl, typicity. So you know where it comes from. Like it's a single vineyard wine, which normally is kind of a premium wine thing, right?
And it's also in like a blend, a kitchen sink blend, where they gather a bunch of frozen grapes from pretty much everything that they can find from Ontario VQA. Boom. Like, so all the grapes from one vintage coming from all over the province, that can be from where? From Prince Edward County all the way to the Erie Lake North Shore, Niagara, everywhere. Whatever I can buy, you can't. You think, no, these are all estate grown fruit from single vineyard. This is crazy. It's absolutely lunacy when I taste that, especially that Sauvignon Blanc here. There's that pure Sauv Blanc, like this that you just mentioned, typicity, right? That pure Ontario SB typicity. There's no doubt about that. And yeah, from that Chorus Vineyard, I got at least a $26 quality in that $16 bottle of Sauv Blanc. It's mind-boggling. Looking for a Pinot Grigio? Well, Pinot Grigio, it's not typically the kind of wine who's like necessarily expensive. But there's a lot of crap Pinot Grigio out there. A lot. Like and we always laugh when we talk about Italian wine, that Italian Pinot Grigio, one brand of Pinot Grigio out of 10 is a good one to taste. But often in Canada, in the entry level category, the Pinot Grigio is the same darn thing. But this, guess what? You got fresh, light, crisp Pinot Grigio with that melon. It is a great, good Pinot Grigio at a $16. So this is, to me, the quintessence of value wine. That's what it means. So yeah, it's a fun exercise. It's a hard thing to find, though, and there's a few examples like that. But again, these are from portfolio where there's more expensive wine in the portfolio to balance margin at the end of the day. Well, let's talk about Fogellar. Fogellar are making like $15 Riesling, $15 Rieslings, or $18 Cap Franc. But they also have their single vineyard $35 Cabernet Franc. So you have that balance of portfolio. Flat Rock gave us we had a $18 or $19 on Oak Chardonnay, a Riesling also, but you also have the Rusty Shed and some other of their portfolios more at the $30, $40 bracket, where now you can balance single vineyard wine, high-end premium, 18-20 months on oak. That's all balance and the diversity of a portfolio. Now we get to Burnship Bay, where they have 4 wines. They produce 4 wines, 3 wines at $15.95, 1 wine at $19.95, and boom, all of them are bang on. By lowest rating, and when I rate wine, I do not rate wine to sell wine. I rate wine for reputation. I rate wine for credibility. I will never jeopardize Carl's Wine Club or my name's credibility, reputation, just to give more points to make sure we sell more wine. No, we just don't put these wines into our offer if we believe that the score is below 88 points. So the lowest rated wine in these 4, it's 89 points. It's 89 points with the Pinot Grigio. So this is pretty darn impressive. It's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Hey, I had a question from Lizette earlier, and I feel like I've misled her. So she was asking, are you planning to sometimes discuss Nova Scotia wines? And then I said, you bet. We're in touch with Domaine de Grandpré. But is Domaine de Grandpré in Nova Scotia?
Yes.
Or Newfoundland?
No, Nova Scotia.
Okay, good.
Yeah, there's no really winery in Newfoundland. I think
Annapolis. That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. It's from Annapolis Valley. and
Okay, perfect.
outside, like that's the easternmost located
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
wine region is right there. So yeah,
Fabulous.
Domaine du
That's
Grand
great.
Pré is from the Annapolis region.
Excellent.
So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
another
I
fascinating
just
region that we're just getting into, and they have their own kind of meritage type of thing called Tidal Bay. It's like a
yeah,
blend.
exactly. That's
Mhm.
the Appalachian style of wine that they have down there. They built the Tidal Bay.
Yeah, so a
Uh,
lot of different wineries will make a blend called Tidal Bay, and it's like there's a certain set of rules around what's in there. It's
yeah,
pretty neat. Yeah, so fabulous, fabulous value with these wines. But what's more is Marcel is is just awesome to work with. And he's one of the owners of Burnship Bay. And so he said, hey guys, why don't we do this? If you order the Discovery Pack, it's just over $100, including tax, and you get uh one of each white and two of each reds, right? Because they have four wines, two reds, two whites.
yeah,
Um,
$103, I believe, right?
yeah, including tax. And then there is a reduced shipping rate with that. I think it's 15 for Ontario, 20 anywhere else,
Yeah.
which is still a heck of a deal. If you look at how much I spend on gas going to the store, there's probably half of that shipping rate right there, and it's coming to you from across the country. So that's great. But then he had just when we talked to him a couple of weeks ago, gotten a shipment of glassware. You can see the glasses on the bottom there. And so he said, you know what? Oh, and Carl has one. Do you have one? There it is. Really cute stemless glasses, perfect for patio season coming up. So for every 12 bottles you get two of those free, which is pretty sweet. There you go. They're so sweet. I love those glasses. They're perfect for tasting wine, like getting a whole bunch of them together. I know last time we did this, some members they got extras just so they could get the glasses because they love the shape of them and how good they are for little tastings on the patio. So
And
yeah,
yeah,
so
so
this is
because
even
well,
more awesome. Who doesn't like
yeah,
free stuff?
oh yeah, we're talking and say, Carl, you know that we don't make a whole lot of money per bottle, right? So he said, let's try to make sure that people were purchase 12 bottles at the time. I said, okay, what you're willing to do for 12 bottles? Say, we're gonna do free shipping across the country. It's like, whoa, okay. He said, okay, and then let's throw these like, free glasses on top of it. I'm like, wow, you're crazy. So that's a heck of a deal. 12 bottles,
And I have to
free
say something,
shipping.
Carl. We tasted this reserve red. We just popped in poured. We
Yeah.
didn't use an aerator like the one we're giving out for free. If you leave a comment tonight, the Enovino aerator. We didn't decant it. We didn't do anything like that. We just popped in poured. And when I first tried it, it was a little more shy. But now, holy smokes, like what, half an hour, 45 minutes later,
Yeah.
it's really coming together. And the finish is much longer and
Much
spicier.
longer. There's a little bit of caramel, kind of like a little of that, like that caramel finish. I get a little bit of the barrel at the end. The fruits is all on cassis. There's a good length. There's a good grip. There's a good structure of acidity as well. It's not acidic. There's just a nice acidity structure on it. Make it very, very, very well suited for food. So while the Cab Merlot is a little bit more of a fruit bomb, easy drinking, rough, soft, smooth, and fruity. The Reserve Red is more serious dinner type of wine, and for 1995, are you kidding me? I give that wine 91 points, and it's like, yeah, one of the best under $20 wine available out there, especially for red. I'm seeing more and more these options for white, but for red, and the reason is your serious red goes into wood, goes into barrel. Barrels are so expensive, so it's pretty much impossible to make a $20 wine to spend time in barrel, in quality barrel, to preserve the fruit typicity, to give that finish a little bit of spice, a little bit to develop the tannin, not edgy tannin, but round and soft tannin. And yeah, that's what you get into these wines, that Reserve Red. Boom, bang on. Yeah, there's that fun nose as well comes with it. So there's no flaws. There's nothing wrong to debate about these wines. Everything is by the book. Everything is up to expect. Always over deliver every of my expectation in terms of pretty much everything. So yeah. I want to know. I want to know people who are tuning in right now. I want to know what is the best under $20 wine you have tasted um, in the last year or so. I'm intrigued to see some names out there. I want to compare what we have here. If we can compare what you guys had. What is the best under $20 wine you've tasted of your drink? In the last year or so, or what is the $20 wine that you've dumped to the down to the drain?
Okay, so that we have to talk about. So last time we featured them in September, I said, Carl, these wines are pretty damn good. They're probably the only wines I've ever had under 20 bucks because I started drinking wine during the pandemic. Like, honestly, before that, for like a decade of my life, I was either pregnant or breastfeeding our three kids, and I did not drink any alcohol. And so when we started drinking Canadian wines, I thought, what is the rest of the world's wines like? So more and more we're tasting international wines, and I just have it like a special spot in my palate or whatever for Canadian wines because I always seem to prefer them, even if it's a blind tasting. So that's fun. But then I was like, what about like inexpensive wines? What if I'm buying all these $20, $30, $40 wines when I can't maybe tell the difference with the less expensive ones because I don't have a super developed palate, right? So we blind tasted me live here for Wine Wednesday type of thing back in September. And you can still watch that. It was recorded. And Carl blind tasted me with like a $7 or $8 wine, these $16 Cab Merlot from Burnship Bay, and then I think a $30 or $35 wine. And I was able to tell the difference, wasn't I, Carl?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And what? Whoa.
Carl got so excited he fell off his chair.
Almost. I remember like the disgust that you had when you had that low entry level price of wine. You were like, oh, and yeah, no, that was pretty good to watch that unfold in front of our eyes. Where usually I'm being putting under the spot. You described so very well the whole spectrum. It was absolutely perfect. I'm getting more and more impressed with the length of that wine as well.
Me
I
too.
have the reserve red in my glass right now.
Yeah.
I can't believe how good of a spot, in how good of a phase this wine is right now. The length is fantastic.
Yeah, it's doing great. I just wanted to mention Elaine is saying she's a red drinker, but for white, does like the Orvieto wines. True, surprisingly refreshing. True, it's easier to find rosés or whites under $20, isn't it?
Well, that's why I was explaining earlier about the wood, right? About the barrels. Usually, whites are more a press and sit for one cycle, like the 8-month cycle, right? In and out of the winery, bring cash flow to the winery. Doesn't have to be too expensive. Doesn't have to sit a long time. So yeah, whites it's more manageable to produce a white under that $20 threshold when it's times for red, like I said, to round off the tannin, to get all of these flavors integrated together, to make sure the wood is not overpowering, but it's also do its job of softening up everything. It takes time. So often you have to skip a cycle. Skipping a cycle means thousands of liters of wine sitting at the winery, not hitting the shelf, does not bringing any money back to the mill. So it's a big deal. Also, the wood, the barrels cost right now for an average barrel $1,200 a pop for one barrel. One barrel, you can put 25 cases of wine in there. 25. When you produce, let's say, 1,000 cases of that, how many freaking barrels do you need? Oh, do the math yourself. This is a boatload of money. So red are more expensive to produce. Now we're not talking about these high-end Chardonnays where they spend as long like no, we're talking about entry-level wines, one cycle wine, right? So yeah, it's an interesting concept, but by definition, rosés and whites are in and out of the winery in like
Less
faster.
time. Yeah, so it's easier. It's easier theoretically to make uh, higher quality, maybe for under $20. Elaine's saying, you know, the Orvieto wines, Casa Sole, it has a Procanico grape. She's saying, who grows that except in Italy? So yeah, it's interesting. I don't know what's Procanico. Is it a vinifera?
Maybe Piconero, maybe also maybe she means Piconero, maybe
Yeah, maybe.
Procanico. I'm not sure. There's so many grapes. Like there's thousands of kind of grapes out there, so I don't know them all. Who except in Italy. There's some Spanish regions will grow these kind of grapes as well, a lot.
Yeah, it's
But
interesting.
here in Canada, I'm not sure.
Yeah, and then Connie had a good question. First Wine Wednesday for Connie. Welcome, Connie. So good to see you. Please tell me how to actually fully test a wine on your palate. And this is a very good question because when I started drinking wine, I just would watch Carl. He'll take like two. He'll be like this. He'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's you know," and he'll describe all these flavors, and then he'll be like, "Oh, there's probably oak in that." Yeah, I'm sure it was made with oak. And then he'll sip it and he'll be like, oh, yeah, yeah, that's definitely Cab Franc dominant. And he'll say all these things. And I'm like, how do you know this stuff? Right. And it's taken me a good year and a half, Connie, of tasting several wines a day with this guy, with this guy, uh, this guy. And now I'm really starting to get it. But what's the cheat sheet, Carl? You know, what should we be doing?
Practice, 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 and practice. You know,
And tasting wine
it's like
side by
playing
side.
pool,
Like,
right? It's like playing billiard. Like if you go play at the pool room once every 2 years, like you're never going to be really really good. Like tasting wine is the same darn thing. But there's a couple thing here, and you have to break it down. First, everything starts with the nose. If you can't smell anything, you won't taste anything. These two senses are connected together. Second, that's how you feel the memories, your brain, every flavors, every aromas has to be detected by your brain. If I smell strawberry, there's no strawberries in the wines. It's just the smell will come with like the detect, like my nose detects a smell that reminds strawberry. So all of these, you need to pay attention on many aromas around you. Like never being afraid to take a handful of fresh fruit and smell it. It's just giving your brain some data.
yeah, so it's the data. So, Connie, I know people who actually, when they're trying to train their palate at the grocery store, will like stop and smell different things in the produce section just to
Awesome.
train your mind on, okay, this is what strawberries smell like. This is what, and when I've had wines, I look at the tasting notes, and if Carl says it's got blueberries, if we have blueberries in the house, I'll go and taste the blueberries and smell the blueberries. Or if we have blueberry jam or something,
That's
and
it.
just
It's all about gathering data.
yeah. And then Elaine has a good tip here around preparing your taste buds. First sip, coat your mouth properly. Then second sip is the right time to start identifying the flavors.
And there's always not, yeah. And now there's the 3-step process to go in there as well. No, the first, like the first three, the three sniffs. And after that, one thing was very important is not just to have a sip and swallow. You have to keep the wine in your mouth, coat your mouth properly to make sure all of the zone of the sensory zone in your mouth has been hit by the wine. So the tannin hit the right place on your tongue. The different, like the salty, the acid, the sweet, all of these different zones are not located in the same place on your tongue. So hitting different zone, and that's gonna, and also bring some air in the mouth to help these aroma, these flavors to develop. If you don't bring air when you have the juice in your mouth, it doesn't open up the molecule.
Let me practice because I don't know how to do this yet. My kids, who are 3 and 5 and 13, they know how to suck in air. They do it with their juice at the dinner table to make fun of us or of Carl. But I don't really know how to do this. So let's try.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And see how much more you get.
I'm glad I didn't splatter everyone.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's a little bit of the ABC of the tasting. But after that, what you want to do, you want to evaluate the acidity of the wine. You want to evaluate the body of the wine. You want to evaluate the alcohol of the wine. All of these technical data will give you, like, is it light, medium, high, and what's the tannin? The tannin is that sense of grippiness. So
yeah, sometimes you feel like you just licked a carpet if it's got like really young and strong tannins, and then other times it's kind of softer, complex. It's like I don't know, there's like lace or something that you're experiencing. So yeah, it's very interesting. Hey, Carl. So speaking of the different things, you're going to start examining, what's the structure like? What's the tannins like? What's the flavors like? All this stuff, the color, you look at the color because that tells you a lot about certain wines have certain colors and stuff, right? Like I've learned Malbec is always this kind of purpley pink. So I know when it's this lighter purpley pink, it might be Malbec. I know Sauv Blanc, it's a white, and it's got kind of, to me, guava smell. To most people, I think that's like grass, but
grapefruit.
But one of the things, Carl, when I did the blind tasting between, a $7 wine, a $15.95 wine, and like a $35 wine, I had never to that point had a wine under $10. And I've heard people saying, oh, I don't like sweet finish. I don't like a sweet wine. And I never really understood what the hell they're talking about because we have never in the club really featured too many sweet wines unless they're like an ice wine or something, right? And now I understood because when I had that $7 or $8 wine, it was sweet, but in an unpleasant way. It lacked
cotton candy sweet.
It was like, but not even like nice candy. It was just like kind of like drinking a weird kind of Kool-Aid or something. And so now I get it. And what's really great about the Burn Chip Bay wines is they publish and tell you what the RS, the residual sugar is, and it's all low, like under 4
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, but some wines will have RS, like even a red wine. I bet that wine, they would never publish it, that $7 wine, right? Because it's just a hodgepodge and they would never tell you. But I bet that red wine had high RS because it was unpleasantly unbalanced on the sweet side. So that's another interesting thing, right, Carl? Because it has to do with how you make the wine, if it's the ripeness and who knows what, right, leads to how much alcohol is produced. And the alcohol is produced based on the sugars in the grapes, right? So if it doesn't ferment till the end, if it doesn't ferment till the end, then you get higher sugars than it should, right?
Yeah. There we go. We got that question again. I'll let you answer.
Do you actually drink any wine?
I don't. No, I don't. I haven't in 10 years. So there you go, Connie. You got your answer.
Yeah. It makes him a way better taster because I've seen this guy go down and taste 200 wines in a day. Like that one time you went to Napa with a group. That was madness. But then at the end of the day, the other people are stumbling trying to get to the bus. And Carl is sitting there working out a deal of how we could feature them or get the best deal or whatever. So it works out really well.
Always. Wine producer always like to talk to the sober guy at the end of the day. That's for sure. Drunk people are annoying anyway. No, so the RS, it's such an interesting question because RS, it's not everything. RS can be RS, the residual sugar, it's an information that doesn't mean shit on its own. Like on its own, it can be so misleading. So in the sense that RS has to be featured. You need to compare the RS versus the tartaric acid. You need to put that also with the pH. So all of these technical components has to be analyzed all together. A wine, a Riesling, some grapes have way more natural acidity in their grape than others. A Riesling can feel absolutely bone dry with the 15% with the 15 gram of residual sugar at the end, and with a nice like 10.5% alcohol, where the 15.8 gram of residual sugar will scare a boatload of people thinking that, oh my God, this wine must be very sweet. And in the case, no, it's not sweet at all because of the natural acidity of that beautiful wine, and also the structure of that wine. So it's not everything. And I strongly suggest to people to do not only look at residual sugar to see if the wine is sweet.
Yeah. Carl almost didn't want to put RS in the tasting notes at first. But it is helpful. It is helpful for a lot of people. So
it is, but I suggest when you guys buying our wines, buying the Carl's Wine Club, in the tasting notes, if they're sweet, always look at what I mentioned. If there's a sweetness in there, I will always mention it. Like we've done with Moraine, the Gewürztraminer had some sweetness in there. The Rosé had sweetness. I mentioned it's slightly off dry. I will mention it in the tasting notes. Sometimes tropical notes doesn't mean sweet notes as well, right? Ripe peach, sometimes it's completely different than citrus notes. So the perception in the mouth will be very, very different. Yes, some residual sugar at the end can lead you with different wines to a different result, but looking at the RS on its own can be completely misleading.
Yeah. And it's rare, actually, that we ever really see wines that have an unpleasant sweetness.
No, very, very, very rare.
I think there's only been maybe one in the last couple of years, one or two, that we were like, oh, that has kind of an unpleasant sweetness to it.
Yeah, I have discarded a few. I would say 10, 15 of these wines that we never talk about, just tasting and like, okay, no, that's not going in the lineup. We have like, that's why also wineries rarely send only 6 wines for us to taste. There's always a wide varieties of wine, so we can pick and choose what we think are the best. So that's the beauty of that. So yeah, let's wrap up here on value wine, because I want to talk about really top premium wine who's coming next week, because we're going from one end of the spectrum all the way to the other end of the spectrum next week. We're talking here Burnt Chibay, $15.95 wine, $16 darn wine, tax in where they are. It's party wines. These are wines great. They're crowd pleaser. They're varietal, typical. It's not mishmash grapes from all over the place. They are vineyard specific. They are well built. They are absolute gem. I don't call them cheap wine. I call them value wines. There is a big difference. They are not cheap wine. They are value wines, and very, very well made. 89 points Pinot Grigio, 90 points single vineyard Sauvignon Blanc, 90 points Cab Merlot, $16, and 1995 Reserve Red. These wines are solid. If you want to fill your cellar, your closet, your wine wall, wherever you store your wines at home, with a case of wine that you won't be shy to open a bottle at any point later in the night, to start the dinner, for Tuesday night pizza, or even for Friday night meal. These wines are pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So that's my spiel on Burnt Chibay. My full endorsement on these wines. And if you don't like them, please call me back. I want to know why, because yeah, these wines are worth every penny of what they are. So here is my take on Burnt Chibay. Don't miss out, because it's at the end of the week. Okay.
Yes, and there's the 2 free stemless glasses. Show us the glass, Carol. 2 of those babies. We broke one. We have a thing for breaking glasses around here.
Yeah, I was
We
not
knock them
happy.
over too easily. So they're those beautiful little stemless glasses. You get 2 of those free if you order 12 bottles, and you get free shipping if you order 12 bottles. But you can also just get 6 bottles or under 12. You can do a custom mix. You can just get like all whites or all reds if you want.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely worth checking it out. It's carlswineclub.com/burnt ship. And I'll put the link in the comments here in case anyone wants to go check it out later. So tell us about the premium wines, because what we've talked about so far is just like all the decisions that go into making a wine in the end amount to the price tag that you pay. And they sometimes do and sometimes don't equal value to you in terms of more enjoyment, right? We've tasted like $120 wines that we get less enjoyment from than a $16 wine.
Absolutely. 100%.
Because it's all about expectations, isn't it? It's about...
I think you just mentioned the key word, Mira. The key word was right there. Expectation. When you fork $16 out of your pocket, you don't have the same expectation than if you get $50 out. True?
Oh, yeah.
No?
If you get $50 out for a bottle, it better be damn good.
It's better being that good because you have a $50 expectation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you want to blow people's socks off. You want to please yourself. You're treating yourself with something special. $16, you're buying a bottle of wine and you're just hoping for the best at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, and if it's enjoyable, you're like, great, that was great.
Damn. Right? So last summer, we had a couple of friends who came over. They were newly signed up from Carl's Wine Club. They came to 5 of our events in Calgary. We used to live in Calgary. We built that series of events is called the Great Canadian Wine Dinner Series in partnership with the Delta Marriott in South Calgary. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, this couple came to pretty much all of our dinners. We became friends, and at some point they say we're going to go to visit in the Okanagan when we moved here. So they came over, and I planned a little tour. They wanted to take me some different places, and we heard about a place in Summerland, pretty much like 30 minutes from our house. It's called Giant Head.
And we'd never heard of them, and they had just won a pretty solid decanter award internationally.
The story about that, I remember now, Glenn Fawcett, friend of ours, business mentor, former owner at Black Hills Winery for years and years, now wine consultant, posted a congratulations to Giant Head Winery for their gold award or gold medal at Decanter World.
Yeah, it was bronze or gold. It was pretty solid. Like, these are not easy ones to get with decanter.
So I'm just looking at that and like, Giant Head. Okay, we're starting to Google and contact these friends and say, have you ever heard about Giant Head? Nope, no one ever heard about Giant Head. So we booked a tasting and we took them there. While we got there, we sat down. The mom, the daughter, and the dad, all family run. We sat there and we started to taste the wine. Oh, Jesus Lord. Everything that we tasted that day was mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. So we tracked them down and we stayed in touch. And finally, it's the time that next week we're featuring Giant Head. We're going to feature their 2019 Rosé. We're going to feature their because they're doing 2 different type of lines. They're doing the Cannon View wines, who are their premium from the vineyard. This is the vineyard here behind the winery. So this is the Canyon View Vineyard. So Canyon View Sauvignon Blanc, Canyon View Chardonnay, Canyon View Pinot Noir. And there's also the Giant Head line here. So we're going to do, they're giving us access to their 2015 Merlot. They're giving us access to their 2017 Merlot that we just cracked a couple nights ago. Just so you know, 92 plus point, a fantastic creamy Merlot. So really excited. There's Chardonnay Canyon View from the 2017 vintage. The Reserve Pinot Noir 2018. So we're having a wide selection of their 2 labels that we're going to feature. Some of their wine, their 2016, were some of the top wine produced in the country in 2016. They're produced at like 150 cases each.
Tiny.
John, the winemaker, has that habit of stashing everything down in the basement, in the cellar, and he doesn't like to release his wine. He wants to keep it all in the cellar. He said, oh, the wine needs to age. And we tried to convince him, at some point, you need to sell these wines. We want to feature them. So we're going to have a bonus option with the 2 Canyon View 2016 Pinot and Chardonnay. These are absolute treat. Coming out your way next week. So I am pretty excited. Tonight, I'm cracking the 16 and the 17 Chardonnay side by side. Watch out for some of my preview in the next couple days. But yeah, it's really exciting. As I've been a year now. It's been less than a year. Let's say we went there in June last year. So I've been gushing about Giant Head for over 10 months. And it's finally the time that we can feature them and offer them to you guys. And I'm really freaking thrilled. That Merlot last night, every sip we had, Mira, there was a
really good. Really well done. Yeah.
I even compared the texture of that Merlot to the Spadefoot Toad Syrah.
Yes, you did.
For people who know us, like the last 2 years from Summerhill, Pyramid, Spadefoot Toad Syrah has made my top 10 wine. And I've been saying all along that is the most beautiful textural wines that I've tasted from Canada at all, like the 14 vintage and the 16 vintage. Last night, tasting that 17 Merlot, I told Mira, the texture of that wine reminds me the texture of the Spadefoot Toad. And Mira was like,
pretty special. He's never said that before about a wine.
So
I don't think you've ever said that, Carl.
No.
There's a very special texture on that wine.
Exactly. So I am thrilled to finalize our tasting notes over the next couple of days and to send that over to you guys. That's me. Like, it's gonna be like the tasting pack ends up around $200 or something like that. Obviously, more expensive than our value wine from Burnship Bay. That's why we are doing from one extreme to another. But it's going to be a lot of fun to feature that next week. I have so much to say about these wines. These are small batch, small family-owned operation in Summerland, BC, a small little wine town where our kids goes to school. So yeah, it's really, really cool. I can't wait for you guys to get your hand on that, because outside of BC, so the Giant Head wines are not available anywhere. It doesn't exist outside of BC. So
honestly, it's only in some select restaurants. And right now they don't even have a website. So
they don't even sell them on the web. It's only
call
some of
the winery and try and find out what they have and maybe place an order by the phone. But that's pretty much it.
Pretty much it. Like, you find Giant Head and Canyon View wines in the top restaurant in Vancouver. So So yeah, it is really freaking excited. I was down with John a couple weeks ago, tasting some of his top Pinot Noir. He's very passionate about producing Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. He got a great hand on Merlot as well. So basically, we're doing Merlot, Sauv Blanc, Chard, and Pinot Noir next week from Giant Head Estate Winery, 5 minutes from our school, for our kids' school. So I am thrilled to bring that all to all our members across the country. So yeah, here is
all right. So should we do a quick little draw for an Enovino wine aerator?
Please,
Tell
please.
us, Carl, what is the wine aerator first? Do you
So
have one there?
I sure usually have a couple around here.
Yeah, here. I have a packaged one up here.
There you go.
What it is you stick it in the wine bottle after you open your wine, and instead of decanting the wine, right, to expose it to air to kind of bring out all the flavors, you just stick this in there. And decanting typically takes anywhere from half an hour to 6 hours, depending on what kind of wine you have, how old it is, how long you need to let it breathe. And after you decant the wine, forget about trying to pour it back in the bottle and have it the next day, because it's probably not going to taste very good the second day, because you've really exposed it to all the air, which will oxidize it, right? So instead, what you can do is use this aerator. Gives the same effect as decanting, we've found. We've tried both. There are very few wines where you really do need to just decant them for a long time. But most wines, you get the same effect with this instantly. So you stick it in your wine bottle, you pour it, and it's got these little filters inside. They take out sediments, because natural wines will have some sediment sometimes. And it aerates it. So it puts little air, fine air bubbles in there to make it bring out the flavors. And it really works. We have tried so many times.
This is decanting your wine one glass at a time. That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, and it works. And then it's handy because it also has a little stopper. So if you are done drinking for a little while, you put the stopper in and you're good for a bit. So yeah, we love it. It's about $35. We sell it for $35, including shipping. And so you can get that on our carlswineclub.com. And we're giving one away right now to everyone that left a comment tonight. So let's see here. Who is going to get shipped a wine aerator?
Matthew Ma.
Matthew. Congratulations. Woohoo. Way to go. That's great.
Way to go, Matthew. I think Matthew is the first time that I see his name on the comments in any of our lives. So if you're a new member, Matthew, or a new listener, welcome to the club. We're thrilled to have you on board. Love having some engaged people commenting, building that wine community with us. This is pretty darn awesome.
Yeah, and I think Matthew might have ordered burnt chip. He says he's excited to try some of the burnt chips. So that's awesome. Try the aerator on the reds. And here's the crazy thing. Most people don't know that, most people realize that, okay, yeah, sometimes you have to decant a red wine, right? I knew that. And I don't know too much about wine, but I kind of heard that through the grapevine. But what I didn't know is that sometimes you have to decant white wines too. You never decant a sparkling, because then it would fizz out. But I've seen Carl go, this white wine is a bit tight. And he decants it or puts it in the aerator, and then it tastes so much better.
It's all about softening up the structure. It's all about getting rid of all of the edges of the wine. When that thing is stuck in the bottles for months or years, you just pop and pour. You know what? It's edgy. You need some time. The air helps opening up the molecule. So when everything is stuck and tight, needs some time. This little thing here, that's what it does. It does the same thing than putting everything in the decanter for hours. It does it instantly.
Yeah. Michelle's asking, how is the decanter compared to others? Are you talking about our fancy decanter there, or are you talking about this little, the Enovino? Because the Enovino, compared to others, what's beautiful about this is designed by someone out of Ontario, Marcel, actually, who owns Burnship Bay. Ironically, we're featuring one of his wineries tonight. But Marcel, there's a lot of these aerators on the market. They're usually plastic. Okay, so the Enovino. So they're usually plastic, and you can't put them in the dishwasher. And this is bad, especially if you're a restaurant or a winery, because you have to put things in a commercial dishwasher to sanitize them, right? So they were really looking for a solution. They couldn't find one. So that's why he ended up designing this out of stainless steel so that it can be put in a commercial dishwasher. And that really helps out. Like, I think if we had one of these that was plastic and I couldn't put it in the dishwasher, I don't think we'd use it very much. Would we, Carl?
No, because I'm not the type of guy who will freaking like
sit there for 10 minutes trying to wash this little
rubbing
thing
that thing and like this and that. No way, I don't have time for that shit. I definitely don't have time for that shit.
That's true.
So I will keep using my decanter, but using the decanter when by the way, this is $300, this is $35. So in terms of pricing, this is the value pick, okay? Here, if I put my bottle in the decanter, wait a couple of hours, my wine aerate, that's exactly what I want to do, right? I get rid of the edges. So now, if I have 2 glasses, what do I do with the rest of the wine? Oh, okay, I pour it back in the bottle. But now my wine is already opened up. My wine is not going to last as long because it's already been decanted. So that's mean it needs to be drank now. Now with this, okay, now with this is a twist cap. The beauty of a twist cap now, I use my aerator. I got 2 glasses out of it, twist it back. This now, it's been open for 3 days. No, it's the 4th day today, and that Merlot's still drinking very darn well. If I had thrown my bottle of Merlot in my decanter the first night, it would not be possible because the structure of the wine has been opened up already. So decanting my wine 1 glass at a time. That's what I do with this.
Yeah, we love it. And Michelle's saying that's the exact problem she has with the plastic ones. And yeah, really.
Hey, Michelle, I don't have time for that shit. No,
yeah, sit there trying to clean a little plastic thing. And if you do put it in the dishwasher, it'll either kind of like warp and look weird, or it will crack, or it will kind of melt. So it's not good. Yeah. The other thing is,
Mira, can you put the link of the Enovino here on the?
Oh yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah, because Michelle,
I just feel better when I don't have as much plastic around that I'm ingesting. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe it's just in my mind, but when I see stainless steel, I just feel it's so much more wholesome.
Absolutely.
So, anyway. Yeah.
There you go.
There you have it.
This is the Enovino. This is the Burnship Bay. If you want to stock up on value wine, you have until the rest of the week to get it. Enovino, we always have Enovino. The link is coming up right there. Friday, you're going to receive a save the date email about the 2 Carl's Wine Club parties, one in Niagara, one in the Okanagan. The first 2 in-person Carl's Wine Club party are going to be hosted at our wineries of the year. The Members' Choice Winery of the Year, Bella Terra Winery in Niagara, Black Market Wine Company in the Okanagan, June 3rd in the Okanagan, June 24th in Niagara. So we're going to send a save the date. Guys, reply. Let us know if you would like to be part of it. And we're going to receive some spots for all of the one who are interested in joining us for our first ever 2 in-person party. We are thrilled to take that next step into building our wine lovers community. So it was an awesome show. Mira Boucher, you did freaking well tonight, like usual.
You too.
Next time, fun. I think you're doing the show on your own.
Never, Carl. Never.
I just yeah. So, hey, let's go take care of the kids.
Unless you want a show where I just talk about all the things I don't know about wine. All the things I wish I knew about wine. No, that's why it's so good to have you here. You always know what to say.
Okay. Well, you did very well. Always great to share the screen with you. You are pretty darn awesome. So, Canadian wine lovers, Carl Wine Club members. Oh, forget about that. Friday.
Oh, yes, Friday. Yes.
Wine
So
virtual wine tasting with Amber Pratt, winemakers.
and
Winemaker
in Zoom, so we can actually chat. It won't be a big group. It'll just be in our VIP group. So if you are curious about Moraine Winery, about Mira Bench wines, and meeting with a winemaker where you can ask her anything, then make sure you join our VIP group on Facebook, and we'll be doing the Zoom just within that group. So it will be, you can turn your video on if you want and actually just chat with the winemaker. You'll learn a lot. So it's a lot of fun.
Amber she's a young winemaker. She's absolutely fantastic. She's a star of producing Syrah. She's producing wine at Moraine Winery, one of us upcoming star on the Naramata Bench sub-region of the Okanagan Valley. So Amber is going to be with us at 6 o'clock Pacific time. So that's me 9 o'clock start for our members in the Eastern time zone, 6 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Mountain for Friday. Sorry. So keep an eye on the VIP group link to join us. It's going to be fun. We're going to taste Meritage. We're going to taste Syrah, Pinot Noir, some Gewürztraminer, some pink rosé. So it's going to be a fun night.
Awesome. Well, have a great night, guys. Happy Wine Wednesday. Cheers.
Happy Wine Wednesday. Cheers. We'll chat with you on Friday. Take care.
Take care.